One phone call, that's all. One phone call between two men, and within days, a suspension is lifted, a lineup changes, and most of the football world is debating it on television. How can one phone call move millions? It really happened just a few weeks ago, and I want to show you why it's actually a masterclass in something much bigger than football, the real economics of influence. I'm not here to tell you who's right or wrong. There are already plenty of people on the internet doing that for free. I'm here to show you something most people completely miss: how relationships, access, and reputation quietly move far more money and outcomes in this world than talent alone. Give me 10 or 15 minutes. Here's where we're going. What actually happened in that phone call, the facts, without any distortion. Why a relationship built over years, gifts, an award, and an office in a particular building mattered far more than the phone ever ringing. The real business lesson hidden inside this controversy, something you can use in your own career this week, and why. Once you understand how it really works, influence becomes one of the most valuable and misunderstood assets on the planet. Stay until the end, because I genuinely want your honest opinion on this. Let's begin. Section 1. What really happened? Alright, first, let's lay out the facts clearly, without the drama. During this tournament, United States forward Folarin Balogun received a red card and was handed a one-match suspension. Days later, President Trump called FIFA President Gianni Infantino, publicly confirming that he wanted the decision reviewed because he believed it wasn't even a foul. Shortly after that conversation, FIFA's disciplinary committee reversed course, using a rarely invoked provision to suspend the suspension itself, allowing Balogun to play in the next match. The decision sparked a genuine international storm. European football federations, members of the European Parliament, and human rights organizations all raised concerns about political interference in what was supposed to be an independent judicial process within the sport. Now here's the important part. This wasn't some random cold call between two strangers, and that's really the entire point of today's video. Trump and Infantino have a well-documented, ongoing relationship. Trump received FIFA's newly created Peace Award during the tournament draw. FIFA has office space in a building connected to Trump's family business. Trump's financial disclosures show tickets, gifts, and access. So when that phone call happened, it wasn't one stranger calling another. It was the continuation of a relationship that had already been built brick by brick over many months. Section 2. The real lesson. Influence is built before you need it. And here's the lesson I really want you to understand, because it applies to every one of you, whether you'll ever call a president or not. Influence is almost never built at the moment you need it. It's built quietly, long beforehand, through relationships, through access, through reciprocity, through favors given and favors remembered. Then, when the critical moment arrives, the phone call itself is almost a formality. The real work was already done years earlier, at dinners, at events, through gifts, through public praise, simply by being in the right rooms over and over again. Think about how absurd it would sound if a complete stranger simply cold called Infantino asking him to review a suspension. He probably wouldn't even get past reception. The call only works because of everything that happened before the call. The same thing is true in business. The deal you closed this month was very often actually built 2 years ago, at a conference, over coffee, with someone who remembered your name when it finally mattered. Section 3. Two sides to this story. Being fair now. I want to be fair here because there really are two sides to this story, and a good investor, a good analyst, always looks at both. On one side, you have the critics, European football officials, some members of parliament, human rights organizations. They argue that this crossed an important line. Sport is supposed to have independent judicial processes that remain separate from political pressure. Their concern is that a phone call from a sitting president to the head of a global sporting organization creates a precedent where political power begins influencing decisions that are supposed to remain impartial. That's a legitimate and serious concern. It didn't appear out of nowhere. FIFA itself says its judicial bodies are independent. The backlash exists precisely because many people aren't convinced that independence was preserved in this case. On the other side, Trump's own explanation was that he simply requested a review. His position was that he wasn't telling FIFA what decision to make. He merely believed the original decision looked unfair and deserved a second look. Infantino, meanwhile, said he regularly speaks with heads of state and major stakeholders regarding World Cup matters, and that FIFA's independent judicial body ultimately made its own decision according to its own rules. That's the defense. A request for a review is not the same as an order, and on paper, the final decisions still belong to FIFA's own disciplinary process. I'm presenting both sides because this channel isn't about telling you who's right in a political argument. It's about showing you the mechanics of influence underneath the argument, and those mechanics remain true no matter which side of this particular controversy you support. Section 4. Why access is a real, priceable asset. Now here's something I really want you to think about, because this is the real investing and business lesson hidden inside a sports headline. Access isn't some vague, feel-good concept. Access is a real, priceable asset. Companies spend real money every year hiring lobbyists for exactly one reason: to build the kind of relationships where, when something urgent happens, a phone call gets answered immediately and taken seriously. That isn't automatically corruption. A huge portion of that industry is completely legal, publicly disclosed, and entirely normal. It's simply the economics of relationships functioning exactly the way they always have inside every powerful institution throughout history. Businesses that thrive over the long run understand this almost instinctively. They don't just build better products, they build relationships with regulators, with major clients, with people who can make one important phone call on their behalf when it truly matters. Ignore that side of business, and you can build the best product in the world and still lose to a competitor with the weaker product, but the stronger network. Section 5. The risk side, when influence backfires. But here's the other side of the coin, and it's just as important, maybe even more important. Influence carries a real reputational cost whenever it's visible, public, and appears to bend the rules. Look at the reaction here. European federations, international lawmakers, human rights organizations, all raising concerns, all questioning the integrity of the process. Whether you think that reaction is fair or not, it's real, and it's expensive in its own currency: trust, credibility, and the kind of scrutiny that follows you afterward. This is the trade-off people rarely talk about. Every time you visibly use influence to bend an outcome in your favor, you're spending another kind of account: your reputation for fairness. Sometimes that trade is worth making. Often, it costs far more in long-term credibility than whatever immediate victory you gained in that single moment. I've watched business leaders win one negotiation through pressure and relationships, only to lose 5 future deals because word spread about how they operate. That mathematics rarely favors the short-term victory. Section 6. Applying this lesson to your own life. So how do you actually use this lesson in your own career or business? First, build relationships before you need them. The worst time to build a network is the week you're desperate for a favor. The best time was 2 years ago. The second best time is today, with no request attached. Second, understand that access is an asset class just like cash or real estate. It compounds quietly over time through consistency, not through one flashy move. Third, always weigh the reputational cost against the immediate gain. A visible favor that makes you money today, but damages how people perceive your fairness, may quietly cost you opportunities for years. That's the real transferable lesson hidden inside this entire controversy. And it has absolutely nothing to do with which country you're supporting in the next match. Closing. Strong, warm, direct engagement. So here's the real scoreboard. One phone call only works because of years of relationship building that happened beforehand. Access and influence are real, priceable assets, whether we like admitting it or not. And every visible use of that influence carries a genuine reputational bill afterward, regardless of whether the immediate outcome was fair. Now I have a question for you, and I genuinely want your honest, thoughtful opinion in the comments, not just a quick reaction. Do you think a conversation like this crosses an important line? Or is this simply how the world really works at the highest levels, whether we publicly acknowledge it or not? I honestly want to hear both sides. And one more question, just for fun. No matter how you feel about politics, which country do you think actually wins the World Cup on the pitch? Leave your prediction below. Let's see who gets it right. If this gave you a different perspective on how influence really moves in the real world, subscribe, because that's exactly what we do here. We look beyond the headlines and go straight to the mechanics underneath them. I'll see you in the next video.